The silk sheets tangled around my legs like a lover's desperate embrace, but the man beside me was no lover. He was a storm I had fled into the night, only to wake chained to its eye. My heart hammered against ribs that felt too fragile for the weight of what I'd done. The Georgetown brownstone's morning light slicing through the curtains like accusations I couldn't outrun. "Mason," Logan's voice rasped from the doorway, low and laced with the kind of hurt that senators don't admit to on C-SPAN. "You think running fixes the fracture? It just bleeds us both dry." I bolted upright, the room spinning like a bad cut from a DC thriller. Marble floors echoing my gasp, the faint scent of his cologne mingling with the betrayal I'd tasted on my tongue last night. Logan Hale, the rising star of the Senate, the man whose billboards grinned from every metro stop with promises of hope and hard lines against the corruption he swore to dismantle, stood there in his crisp Oxford shirt, sleeves rolled up like he was ready to fight for more than just votes. His blue eyes, usually sharp as a filibuster, were shadowed, cracked open with something raw that made my chest ache. I'd run from him 6 months ago, after that leaked email chain painted him as the puppet master pulling strings in a scandal that could have toppled his career, and mine by association. I'd been his speechwriter, his shadow, his secret in stolen nights amid the cherry blossoms. But when the whispers turned to shouts, accusing him of trading favors for funding from the very lobbyists he railed against, I couldn't stay. Not when loving him felt like loving a lie. "You're not supposed to be here," I whispered, my voice cracking like the Potomac ice in winter. The door to the balcony hung ajar, the one I'd pried open in the dead of night, slipping out with nothing but a backpack and the ghost of his touch on my skin. How had he found me? The safe house in Adams Morgan, the burner phone I'd sworn by, none of it mattered now. His home, this fortress of polished wood and leather-bound first editions, swallowed me whole again. Logan crossed the room in 3 strides, his loafers silent on the Persian rug that probably cost more than my student loans. "And you're not supposed to wake up in my bed after ghosting me for half a year, but here we are." He didn't touch me, not yet, but the air between us hummed with the electricity of unfinished arguments, the kind that senators and lovers wage in equal measure. I wanted to hate him, to spit out the questions that had festered like open wounds. Was it true? The backroom deals, the whispers of influence peddling that had journalists circling like vultures? But his face, God, that face, all chiseled jaw and quiet storms, held me captive, reminding me of the man who'd quoted Whitman to me under the Jefferson Memorial at midnight, whispering that democracy wasn't just policy. It was us, 2 souls forging light from the chaos. I swung my legs over the edge of the bed, bare feet hitting the cool floor, grounding me in the surreal. How? I was careful. The guy at the coffee shop in Cleveland Park swore he wouldn't say a word. Paranoia had been my companion these months, jobless and jumping hostels, piecing together freelance gigs while dodging calls from mutual friends who begged me to come back. Logan had power, sure, committees, connections that spanned from K Street to the White House, but I'd covered my tracks like a pro, or so I thought. A ghost of a smile tugged at his lips, bitter as black coffee. "You think I'd let you vanish without a trace? I know you, Mason, better than you know yourself." He sank onto the armchair across from me, elbows on knees, fingers steepled like he was briefing a caucus. Up close, the lines around his eyes were deeper, etched by sleepless nights I hadn't shared. At 42, Logan was the golden boy of the progressive wing, champion of LGBTQ rights bills that had passed by razor-thin margins, his speeches igniting rallies from San Francisco to Savannah. But power like his came with shadows, and I'd glimpsed them once, in a heated argument with a donor whose eyes lingered too long on the crystal decanter. "I didn't vanish," I shot back, pulling the sheet around my waist like armor. "I survived. After that email, your name on it, authorizing funds to that PAC with ties to Big Pharma? The one you swore you'd burn down." The words hung heavy, the betrayal slicing fresh. We'd met 2 years ago, me fresh out of Georgetown with a poli-sci degree and dreams of changing the world. Him headlining a gala for marriage equality. One debate over bourbon turned into late-night strategy sessions, then confessions in the rain-slick streets of Capitol Hill. He was out, proudly so, the first openly gay senator from the South, but vulnerability? That was our private rebellion. Logan's jaw tightened, a muscle ticking like a countdown. It was fabricated. A deepfake trail, planted by the other side to kneecap my healthcare reform push. He leaned forward, voice dropping to that intimate timbre that had unraveled me 100 times. I fought it, Mason. Testified in closed sessions, burned bridges with half the party. But you left before I could explain, before I could beg. Beg. The word landed like a gut punch. Logan Hale didn't beg. Not for votes, not for allies. Yet here he was, the man who'd stared down filibusters, his hands trembling slightly as they reached for mine. I pulled back, the sheet whispering against my skin, memories flooding. His laughter in the kitchen at dawn, flipping pancakes while quoting Lincoln. The way he'd hold me after nightmares of my conservative family's rejection, promising a world where love wasn't leverage, but trust? That was the currency we'd both spent too freely. The door buzzed downstairs, his security detail, no doubt, scanning for threats in a city where threats were as common as cabs. Logan glanced at his watch, a Patek Philippe that screamed old money, then back at me. We don't have time for this dance. Breakfast is waiting, and so is the truth. Stay. Hear me out. Or run again. And this time I won't chase. I stood, sheet pooling at my feet, defiance burning hotter than fear. You brought me here, drugged my coffee, tied me up like some Lifetime movie villain. Hyperbole, but it masked the terror twisting in my gut. Last night blurred. The bar in DuPont Circle, a face from his staff buying rounds, then darkness. Waking here felt like a fever dream, his bed a trap lined with velvet. He rose slowly, closing the distance until his breath ghosted my cheek. Slept like the dead after one too many whiskeys, sweetheart. I carried you up, same as I did that night in Rehoboth after the beach bonfire. His hand cupped my jaw, thumb tracing the scar from a childhood by crash. A touch that said home louder than any speech. No tricks, just me, too damn stubborn to lose you. The fight drained from me then, leaving only the ache of what we'd lost. I leaned into him, forehead to forehead, the world narrowing to the steady thrum of his pulse. Outside, DC stirred, horns blaring, power brokers plotting. But in this room, it was just us, two men who'd built an empire on whispers and now teetered on its ruins. Okay, I murmured, the word a surrender and a spark. But if you're lying, Logan, I'll burn it all down myself. He kissed my temple, soft as absolution, and led me downstairs. The kitchen gleamed under recessed lights, coffee percolating with the rich aroma of Ethiopian beans he'd smuggled from a trade summit. As he plated eggs Benedict, his mother's recipe, adapted vegan for me, the questions piled up like unread briefs. Who was behind the leak? Why me, the nobody speechwriter, as the collateral? And deeper still, could love survive the machine that chewed up ideals and spat out compromises? We ate in silence at first, forks clinking against porcelain, the Potomac visible through floor-to-ceiling windows like a silver vein pulsing with secrets. Logan broke it, voice steady as a stump speech. It started with the bill, the one expanding protections for queer youth in foster care. You wrote the heart of it, remember? That line about sanctuaries of self, not shadows of shame. He smiled faintly, eyes distant. It had teeth, real ones. But the opposition, they're not playing fair anymore. Hacked my server, twisted words into weapons. I nodded, fork pausing mid-air. I'd seen the headlines, Hale's hypocrisy, Senator's secret slush fund exposed. My name had been dragged through the mud too, implied as the intimate advisor with undue influence. Friends ghosted, family, who'd barely acknowledged my coming out, sent curt texts disowning the scandal. Running had been survival, but it carved hollows in me that no hostile mattress could fill. And the betrayal? I pressed, the word tasting like ash. Not just the leak. You met with him, that donor Harlan Voss, alone, after you promised no more closed doors. Voss, the pharma exec with a smile like a shark and donations that bought silence. I'd walked in on them once, heads bent over documents, Logan's laugh too easy, too familiar. His fork clattered down, eyes flashing. Business, Mason. He was flipping against the price caps. I turned him, got concessions that saved the bill. He reached across the island, fingers lacing with mine. You think I'd risk us for that snake? You're my North Star, the reason I fight. The sincerity in his voice cracked something in me, tears pricking unbidden. Then why does it hurt so much? Why does loving you feel like holding lightning? DC had that effect. Glamour laced with grit, where every alliance was a potential knife. We danced this edge before. His late nights, my insecurities from a youth spent hiding crushes in Bible Belt backseats. But this was thunder. Logan stood, rounding the island to pull me into his arms, my cheek against the starched cotton of his shirt. Because it's real, and real things scar. His lips brushed my hair, a benediction. Stay today. Let me show you the files, the affidavits. Prove it. I pulled back, searching his face. The faint freckles across his nose from Carolina summers. The worry lines I'd trace in the dark. Trust was a leap, but so was love. One day, I conceded. But if it's lies, I'm gone for good. As he nodded, relief flooding his features, the buzzer sounded again. Insistent, urgent. His security chief's voice crackled over the intercom. Senator, press is swarming the gate. Something about a new drop, your name, and Mr. Ellis's. My blood iced. Another leak? Or the storm breaking wide open? Logan swore under his breath, hand tightening on mine. Together, he said, fierce as a vow. We face it together. And just like that, the man I'd run from became my anchor, pulling me back into the fray. Little did I know, the real betrayal lurked not in emails, but in the shadows of loyalty we both thought unbreakable. The drive to Logan's Senate office was a gauntlet of flashing lights and shouted questions. The tinted Suburban slicing through DC's morning snarl like a knife through fog. I huddled in the back seat beside him, my knee bouncing against the leather, while his detail, stoic ex-Marines in earpieces, scanned the mirrors for tales. Senator Hale, is it true you're shielding your boyfriend from subpoena? A reporter bellowed from the curb, phone thrust like a bayonet. Logan's jaw set, but his hand found mine in the dim, squeezing once. We've got this, before the partition rose, sealing us in our bubble of borrowed time. By the time we reached the Dirksen building, my palms were slick, the marble halls echoing with the ghosts of Watergate whispers. Logan's aide, a whip-smart non-binary staffer named Riley with a buzz cut and impeccable suits, met us at the elevator, tablet clutched like a shield. It's bad, they murmured, eyes flicking to me with a mix of pity and steel. Anonymous source dropped docs last night, your meeting with Voss timestamped. And Mason, they're saying you two colluded on the draft language to bury the pharmatize. Colluded. The word slithered like venom, twisting our love into conspiracy. I followed Logan into his corner office, the door clicking shut on the world outside. Views of the hill sprawling like a chessboard, flags snapping in the breeze. He shrugged off his jacket, tossing it over a bust of Lincoln, then fired up his secure laptop, fingers flying across keys with the precision of a man who debated amendments till dawn. Here, he said, pulling up a folder labeled Voss Counter. Screenshots, emails, timestamps glowing like evidence in a courtroom drama. See? The meeting was a sting FBI plant. Voss bit, confessed on tape to bribing 3 committee members. Your draft? It was the bait, clean as a whistle. He scrolled, revealing redacted transcripts, my words woven in like thread in a tapestry of justice. I leaned over his shoulder, inhaling the familiar scent of his aftershave, sandalwood and resolve, while doubt warred with relief. Why didn't you tell me? Back then, when it leaked. My voice was small, laced with the old hurt of being sidelined, the speechwriter always one step from the spotlight. Logan turned his chair, pulling me onto his lap like we were kids stealing moments in his campaign RV. Classified. One slip and the whole op crumbles. I protected you because losing you to this circus. He trailed off, burying his face in my neck, breath warm against my pulse. I'd burn the hill before that. The vulnerability hit like a wave, crashing over the walls I'd built in exile. This was Logan. Not the polished orator, but the boy from Charleston who'd lost his brother to conversion therapy shadows, channeling grief into bills that saved lives. We'd bonded over that, late nights dissecting policy over takeout foe, laughing at the absurdity of straight allies who patted us on the back while voting down protections. Love in D.C. was a revolution, quiet and fierce, and I'd forgotten how it felt to be its foot soldier. But Riley knocked then, urgent rap shattering the hush. "Senator, call from the majority leader. He wants you in chambers. Now." Logan's grip tightened fractionally, then released, the mask slipping back on. Chin up, eyes forward. "Go," I said, sliding off his lap, forcing a smile. "I'll dig through the rest. Play detective." It was a lie. I was no investigator, just a guy with a notebook and a grudge against half-truths. But staying busy beat pacing his home like a caged bird. He kissed me then, quick and claiming, lips lingering just long enough to promise later. "Lock the door. Call if anything smells off." And he was gone, strides eating the carpet, leaving me with a stack of files and the hum of printers in the adjacent room. I dove in, highlighter in hand, tracing threads. Voss's shell companies, pack funnels, the leaks IP bouncing from Moscow servers, Russian bots meddling again, or a domestic fox in the henhouse. Hours blurred, coffee turning cold, until a pattern emerged. Not just sabotage, but personal. One email, buried deep, referenced the boyfriend's weak spot. With my old family address in Alabama circled like a bullseye, chills skated down my spine. My family, staunch Republicans, Dad a deacon who'd prayed away my phase with leather belts and Leviticus quotes. They hadn't spoken to me since the coming out. But now, leverage. I slammed the laptop shut, heart racing, dialing the burner I'd kept. No signal? Impossible. Logan's office was a Faraday cage of security. That's when the door creaked. Not Riley's knock, but a slow, deliberate push. In stepped a face from nightmares. Harlan Voss himself, silver fox hair slicked back, suit tailored to hide the paunch of excess. "Mr. Ellis?" he drawled, southern drawl dripping honeyed poison. "Fancy finding you here. Mind if I join the puzzle party?" I scrambled up, chair scraping like a warning. "Security's downstairs. You waltz in on threats." The office suddenly felt too small, windows mocking me with their unyielding glass. Voss chuckled, low and oily, producing a visitor badge from his pocket. Legit, swiped or forged. "Logan's a busy man. Leaves gaps." He sauntered to the desk, flipping open a file at random, eyes gleaming. "Clever work, that bill. Almost had me. But see, power isn't won with words. It's bought with silence." Adrenaline surged, fight or flight screaming run. But the door was behind him, his bulk blocking like a dam. "What do you want?" I demanded, voice steadier than I felt, channeling every debate club scrap from college. "Your man thinks he can testify against me? Ruin my legacy." Voss leaned in, breath sour with mince masking scotch. "That tape? Fabricated just like his alibis. But you're the soft underbelly. Run back to mommy and daddy. Tell 'em their boy's shacking up with a fraud. Or better, sign this." He slid a non-disclosure across the desk, fat with legalese and a pen that screamed coercion. I snatched it, crumpling the edge. "Go to hell, Harlan. Logan's clean. And so am I." Defiance burned bright, but fear gnawed. What if he had dirt on my family? Blackmail wasn't abstract anymore. It was the glint in his eye. He lunged then, faster than his age suggested, hand clamping my wrist like a vice. "Stupid boy. Loyalty's a luxury in this town." Pain shot up my arm as he twisted, the pen clattering free. I yanked back, elbow connecting with his ribs in a satisfying thud. But he roared, shoving me against the bookshelf. Volumes tumbled, Thoreau, King. Raining judgment as I grappled, knee driving for his groin. The door burst open mid-struggle, Riley charging in with a taser drawn. Logan's security on their heels. "Get off him," Riley barked, prongs humming threat. Voss staggered back, red-faced, straightening his tie with feigned dignity. "This isn't over, Ellis," he spat, slinking out under escort, leaving the air thick with menace. I slumped against the wall, ribs throbbing, breath ragged. Logan arrived minutes later, face ashen, pulling me into a crush of arms and whispered curses. "Jesus, Mason, what happened?" His hands roamed, checking for breaks, eyes wild with a father's fear for his chosen family. "Voss," I gasped, clinging like driftwood. He tried to buy me off. Mentioned my folks. The confession cracked open old scars, tears hot on my cheeks. Logan's embrace tightened, a fortress against the storm. "He's done. I'll bury him in committee, ethics probe, the works." But beneath the steel, I heard the tremor. Not just anger, but the dawning horror that his world had poisoned ours. We left under heavier guard, the hill's corridors closing in like jaws. Back at the brownstone, he drew a bath, Epsom salts and lavender, his mother's remedy for bruised egos, tending me with washcloths and quiet stories of his own run-ins with bullies, back when coming out meant exile from kin. "You're not soft, Mason," he murmured, fingers tracing my collarbone. "You're the fire that keeps this city honest." Lying there, steam curling like secrets, I let myself believe it. But as night fell, my phone, recharged now, buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Ask your lover about the brother he buried." Attached, a grainy photo. Logan, younger, arm around a man who looked eerily like him, both laughing under magnolia trees. Betrayal's shadow lengthened, and I wondered if the man I loved was the villain after all, or just another casualty of the power that promised everything and delivered only ghosts. Sleep evaded me that night, the brownstone's walls whispering accusations as I stared at the ceiling fan's lazy spin. Logan's even breaths beside me a counterpoint to my racing pulse. The photo burned in my mind, not just the image but the implication. A brother? Logan had spoken of family in fragments, a widowed mother in Charleston, a father lost to cancer, but siblings? Buried, the text sneered, like a scandal swept under the campaign rug. By dawn, resolve hardened like DC frost. I slipped from bed, padding to his study in socks and shadows, the laptop's glow a siren's call. Passwords were muscle memory, our anniversary, the date of that first kiss under fireworks on the 4th. Folders unfolded. Speeches, polls, then a locked drive labeled personal, eyes only. My finger hovered, guilt gnawing like termites in old beams. Trust was our pact, but Voss's grip lingered, a bruise blooming purple on my wrist. Click. Files spilled. Photos first, faded Polaroids of a lanky teen Logan with a mirror image boy. Same blue eyes, same crooked grin, arm wrestling on a porch swing. Lucas. The captions read, dated summers 98, 99. Then clippings. A 2002 obit. Tragic accident claims life of Hale Air. Details sparse car wreck on a rain-slicked back road. Driver error. But deeper. Police reports. Redacted witness statements hinting at speed. Swerves. Whispers of foul play. Crossed out in Logan's precise script. My stomach churned. Covered up? For what, family name or something uglier? A final file. Emails from 2003. Logan to a lawyer. "Make it quiet. Mom can't take another hit." He was troubled, drunk, reckless. Not murder. Attached, a coroner's addendum. Traces of Rohypnol in the system, date rape drug, but ruled accidental overdose. Troubled. The word echoed, laced with the era's shame. Lucas, outed young, disowned whispers from conservative kin. Had Logan, still closeted then, pushed too hard? Or protected too fiercely? Tears blurred the screen as I pieced it. The drive to politics, the bills for queer youth, all penance for a brother's ghost. Footsteps, Logan's, soft on the stairs. I minimized, heart slamming, but too late. He filled the doorway, robe loose, hair tousled, eyes sharpening on the glow. "Mason? What's—" Recognition dawned, face crumpling like wet newsprint. "You saw." I stood, chair toppling. "A brother? You buried him. Literally?" and never told me. Fury mixed with grief, the laptop a smoking gun between us. All this time, preaching transparency, fighting for kids like we were, and your own blood drugged, crashed, hushed up? He crossed the room, hands raised like parley. Lucas was wild. Out before it was safe, parties with older guys who prayed. That night he called me hysterical. Some creep spiked his drink at a frat bash. I drove him home, but he grabbed the wheel. Logan's voice broke, sinking into the desk chair, head in hands. We fought. I yelled stupid, scared kid stuff. He yanked, the road curved. I walked away with scratches. He didn't. The rawness stripped him bare. No senator's polish, just a man haunted by what-ifs. I knelt before him, hands on knees, the photo's ghost hovering. Why hide it? From me? Shame, he admitted, voice muffled. The party machine, they'd spin it. Hale's family skeletons, unfit for leadership. And you, God, Mason, after your stories of belts and disownment, how could I dump my mess on you? I fight for those kids to spare them our ghosts. Empathy warred with betrayal, his pain mirroring mine, the families that branded love as sin. I cupped his face, thumbs brushing tears. We're not ghosts, Logan. We're the survivors. But secrets, they kill slower than crashes. He nodded, pulling me up into a hug that smelled of regret and resolve. No more. Ask anything. Dawn crept in, gilding the study as we talked, hours unraveling threads. Lucas's laugh like thunder, their shared dreams of law school, the void that propelled Logan to the hill. By noon, catharsis settled, fragile as truce, but Voss's threat loomed, the text's source a cipher. We broke for lunch on the balcony. Quinoa salads from a foggy-bottom deli, iced tea sweating in the humidity. The leak, Logan mused, scrolling his phone. Traced to a staffer, mine. Jordan, the intern from last summer. Betrayal's knife twisted anew. Jordan, earnest kid with rainbow pins, who'd gushed over my drafts. Turned, I asked, fork spearing a cherry tomato like an enemy. Blackmailed. Voss's goons dug up dirt, old DUIs, family debts. Kid cracked. Logan's fist clenched, knuckles white. I'll handle it, quiet resignation, therapy Rex. No scarlet letters here. Humanity in the machine. That was Logan, turning punishment to redemption. But as we cleared plates, his phone erupted. Majority Leader again. Voice booming over speaker. Hale, get your ass to the cloakroom. Votes whipping on the protections bill, your baby. And that boyfriend stunt? Clean it up, or you're toxic. The line died, leaving static. Logan paced, Ty askew. They'll gut it without me. Slash funding for shelters. Add writers for parental rights that mean conversion camps. Go, I urged, stealing against the pull. I'll stay low, dodge the vultures. He hesitated, then crushed me in a kiss, desperate, tasting of salt and steaks. Love you, he murmured, gone in a whirlwind of keys and coat. Alone, paranoia prickled. The text's number traced to a burner, but the photo's metadata pinged local, DC grid. Someone close. I rifled Logan's desk, finding a hidden drawer. Not files, but letters. Lucas's handwriting, scrawled from rehab stints. Bro, forgive the mess. Love you always. Tucked beside, a locket with their baby photos, chains snapped like trust. The afternoon dragged, shadows lengthening as I paced, composing a reply to the ghost. Who are you? What do you want? Sent, silence. Then, a knock, delivery per the intercom. A package, unmarked, slipped under the door. Manila envelope, heavy with malice. Inside, more photos, Logan and Lucas, but doctored, intimate poses twisted to imply taboo. Accompanying note, typed, Senator's dirty secret. Pay up or it goes viral. $500,000 to this account. Or the boyfriend gets the blame. Extortion, Voss's playbook escalated. My hands shook as I forwarded to Logan, but signal jammed again. Jammer? I bolted for the landline, dialing Riley. Incoming threat. Get security here. Chaos erupted. Sirens wailing distant. Then close, the brownstones swarmed. Voss arrested at his McLean estate, mid-call to a tabloid. The photos traced to his PR firm's Photoshop whiz. But the real gut punch. Jordan, the intern, confessing in cuffs. Not just leaked, but planted the family dirt. Voss's puppet strings pulling since orientation. Logan's return was thunder, face storm-dark, but arms enveloping. "It's over," he breathed, as news vans clustered outside. Voss sings, "Bill passes tomorrow. And us? We're unbreakable." But in his eyes, I saw the fracture. Trust's cost, the brother's shadow lingering. As we collapsed into bed, bodies entwined platonically, exhaustion claiming us, I whispered into darkness, "No more burying Logan. We rise together." Yet dawn brought headlines. Hale's hidden kin, scandal or smear? The machine ground on, and I wondered if love could outrun its gears. The vote passed at midnight, a squeaker, 52-48. Logan's tiebreaker delivered with a speech that quoted Lucas directly, voice cracking over the C-SPAN feed I'd watched from a safe house bunker. Riley's laptop warm on my lap. "Sanctuaries aren't built on secrets," he'd said, eyes finding the camera like it was me, "but on the courage to unearth them." Cheers erupted in the gallery, queer activists hugging strangers. But back home, the war room of his study felt like a bunker, walls papered with legal pads of contingencies. By morning, the blowback hit. Op-eds in the Post branding him Hale's haunted legacy. Trolls flooding his mentions with slurs that cut deeper than policy jabs. I brewed coffee strong as resolve, sliding a mug under his nose as he scrolled briefs, stubble shadowing his jaw like defeat. "You did it," I said, perching on the desk's edge, fingers brushing his temple. "Kids like Lucas, hell, like us, get a fighting chance now." He captured my hand, pressing a kiss to the knuckles, bruise fading but memory vivid. "We did it. Your words, my gavel." But weariness etched him, the politician's fire banked to embers. Voss rotted in pretrial, Jordan in witness protection. But the damage festered, family skeletons rattling louder than ever. A call shattered the quiet. His mother, Evelyn Hale, voice quavering over the line like Spanish moss in wind. "Logan, honey, the papers. Lucas, why now?" Charleston drawl, laced with the grief she'd buried under garden clubs and church suppers. He winced, mouthing sorry to me before answering. "Mama, it's out. All of it. But it's truth, not shame." Minutes stretched, her sobs muffled. Then a click, hung up or broken. Logan stared at the phone. Then me, eyes hollow. She knew about the cover-up. Blamed herself for not seeing his pain. The weight settled, generational sins passed like heirlooms. I pulled him up, leading to the couch where we'd binge-watched The West Wing in better days. His head in my lap as I stroked his hair. "Call her back. Tell her about the bill. How Lucas lives in it." Vulnerability was our bridge, rickety but real. And as he dialed, voice softening to stories of magnolias and mischief, healing threaded through the line. Evelyn arrived 2 days later, Amtrak from Savannah. Her silver chignon and pearl brooch a bastion of southern grace. She enveloped me in a hug at the door. Lavender and linen, fierce as any mama bear. "Mason, darlin', you've got the eyes of a fighter." Logan's told me everything. No judgment, just a squeeze that said welcome. We lunched on the balcony. Shrimp and grits she'd insisted on cooking, low country magic in a DC kitchen. Talk flowed. Lucas's quirks, his obsession with Patsy Cline, the Rex aftermath, Logan dropping out of Vanderbilt, enlisting in AmeriCorps to fix something. Evelyn's eyes misted, but pride gleamed. "He was my wild one. You, Logan, you're the anchor. And this one," she nodded at me, "he's the sail." Laughter bubbled, tentative, thawing the frost. But as she departed, waving from the cab, a shadow trailed. A tail, black SUV idling too long at the corner. Paranoia? Or Voss's remnants, vengeful ghosts? That night, intimacy bloomed, not fire, but hearth. Logan drew me close under quilts, hands mapping familiar paths with reverence. Whispers of "I see you" chasing shadows. "Marry me," he murmured into my collarbone. Words half dream, half vow. Not for optics, for us. Rings and runaways, forever. My heart stuttered, joy tangled with terror. In this town, they'd crucify you. Hale's distraction headlines till the midterms. But his eyes, earnest blue, held the future. Vows under oaks, not oaks, but Potomac willows, a life beyond the hill. Yes, I breathed, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of home. Plans sparked, quiet ceremony in Rehoboth, invites to Riley and the activists who'd marched for us. Hope, fragile as spring, unfurled. But betrayal's echo struck at week's end. A gala for the bill's signing, black tie swirl at the Kennedy Center. Logan shone, arm through mine, introducing me as partner, co-architect, to donors and dignitaries. Whispers followed, admiring, envious, but one face soured the champagne. Senator Carla Reyes, Logan's mentor, her smile sharp as stilettos. "Darling," she cooed later, cornering us by the bar, her aide hovering like a barracuda. Such bravery on the floor. But this, her gaze raked me, dismissive. Timing's suspect. Leak the family drama, play victim, classic pivot. Logan's arm stiffened around my waist. "Carla, enough." The vote was clean. She sipped Merlot, eyes glinting. "Was it? My intel says you're sting on Voss?" Tip-off came from my office. "Protected your pretty hide." Pause, venomous. "But strings attached." Step back from judiciary next session? Or the donor logs I didn't leak? They surface with Mason's byline. Betrayal, from the woman who'd mentored him through his first bill, pulled his strings like a puppeteer. Logan's face drained, mine burning. "You," I choked. "For what, your pharma pals?" Carla laughed, crystalline. "Powers a pyramid, boys. Climb or be crushed." She glided away, leaving us adrift in tuxedos and tinsel. The drive home was silence, Logan's knuckles white on the wheel. She mentored me, pulled me from obscurity. I owed her. Regret choked him, but fury simmered. "No more. I'll expose her." Ethics dump, full board. "And tank the party?" I countered, hand on his thigh. "She'll drag us both." Climax brewed, the gala's glitter curdling to confrontation. Logan dropped me at the brownstone, heading to Allies for War Council. Alone, I paced, phone buzzing. Evelyn, texting psalms for strength. Strength I needed when Reyes's aide cornered me next morn. Subpoena served at the door, demanding my influence docs. Panic clawed. I called Logan, voice fraying. "She's coming for me. To break you." His reply, "Hold tight. Press conference, noon." Truth bomb. The Hill erupted at his announcement. Podium flanked by queer youth, Lucas's locket gleaming on a chain. "Betrayal isn't policy. It's personal," he thundered, dropping Reyes's logs. Voss ties laid bare. Gasps rippled, cameras flashing frenzy. Reyes resigned by dusk, tearful on Fox. But the cost? Logan's stock plummeted, donors fleeing, midterms looming like storm clouds. Back home, he collapsed into my arms. Spent. Lost her. Lost momentum. "Found us?" I countered, leading him to bed. In the quiet, we planned exile. Sabbatical in Charleston. Rebuilding from roots. Love's romance, American as reinvention. Yet as sleep claimed him, my phone lit. Anonymous again. Reyes was the pawn. "Real players in your bed." Attached, a audio clip, Logan's voice to her. "Mason's expendable. Keep him out." Heart-shattering, I played it twice, timestamp predating the gala. Lie? Deepfake? Or the man I loved? Power's ultimate betrayal? The audio looped in my skull like a bad remix, Logan's voice. That voice, the one that coaxed confessions from me in moonlit parks, dripping cold calculation. "Mason's expendable. Keep him out." Expendable. The word eviscerated, carving deeper than any family disownment, leaving me hollow in the pre-dawn hush of the guest room where I'd fled, door locked against the man snoring obliviously down the hall. Tears soaked the pillow, silent sobs for the fool who'd believed in cherry blossom covenants, for the love I'd mistaken for liberty. Sunrise found me packing, backpack zipped with essentials, a post-it on the mirror. Needed air. Don't follow. Cowardice? Survival. I slipped out the service door, Metro to Union Station, boarding a southbound Acela on impulse. Charleston calling like a siren's bomb. Evelyn's number burned in my pocket, but pride stalled the dial. Instead, I texted Riley. Tell him I'm safe. Need time. The train hummed south, Potomac fading to pines, each mile a suture on the wound. Charleston enveloped me in humidity and history. Cobblestones slick underfoot, pastel row houses whispering of antebellum ghosts. I crashed at a B&B off Battery, room with a harbor view where dolphins arced like fleeting hopes. Days blurred. Walks along the seawall, sketching policy ideas in a notebook stained with sweet tea. Evelyn's church spire mocking from afar. Calls from Logan piled, voicemails raw. Mason, it's fake. Deep fake. Like the emails. Please. But doubt festered. The clip's timbre was him. Intimate betrayal in digital skin. On day 3, Evelyn found me. At a cafe by White Point Garden, her radar maternal and unerring. Darlin', she said, sliding into the wrought iron chair, basket of pralines as peace offering. You look like death warmed over. Spill. Her eyes, Logan's mirror, coaxed the torrent. The clip, the flight, the fracture. She listened, hand on mine, then sighed, heavy as magnolia blooms. Boys and their secrets. Lucas. He had tapes too, arguments we buried. But Logan? He worships you, Mason. Fought me on coming out. Said you'd shown him love's not leverage. Doubt cracked, but not enough. He said expendable. The word stuck, thorny. Evelyn leaned in, voice steel under silk. Then ask him face to face. Run from shadows, you stay blind. She pressed a key into my palm, her guest cottage key, up the Ashley River. He'll hear, but come home when ready. The cottage was sanctuary. Screened porch creaking with hammocks, river lapping like lullaby. I wrote letters unsent to Logan, manifestos on power's poison, poems for Lucas's ghost. Therapy via seagulls and sunsets. Rebuilding the man Voss hadn't broken. But nights, they ached, body yearning for his weight, heart for his truths. A week in, Logan appeared. Not storming, but tentative, khakis and polo, duffel slung like a supplicant. Evelyn's doing, no doubt. He stood at the gate, sunset gilding him golden. I come in peace, he called, hands up. Or with bourbon, your call. I met him on the porch, arms crossed, ocean breeze tousling us both. Play it for you later. But first, why Charleston? Chasing redemption. Chasing you. He stepped closer, eyes tracing my face like lost treasure. The clip? Reyes's last gasp. AI from her tech donor, voice cloned from voicemails you left me. I have the forensics. FBI cleared it yesterday. Relief flickered, but wariness held. And if it's not? If powers changed you? He sank onto the steps, head bowed. It tries. Every compromise, every handshake that sticks. Voice raw, he confessed. The judiciary dodge, a deal with Reyes to shield the bill. My name floated as distraction to buy time. Not expendable, essential. I lied to her to protect us, but it poisoned the well. Betrayal's nuance. Not malice, but machinations. I sat beside him, shoulder to shoulder, the river's murmur mediating. Love shouldn't require alibis, Logan. No, he agreed, turning to me, fingers lacing tentative. But forgiveness? That's the revolution. Tears tracked his cheeks, mirroring mine, as we talked till stars pricked the sky. His fears of losing the seat, my dreams of writing beyond speeches, a future where politics bowed to us. We stayed in the cottage 3 days, Evelyn's baskets of collards and cornbread sustaining, walks along oyster shell paths mending. Intimacy rebuilt slow. Hands held under live oaks, kisses tasting of salt and second chances. Marry me still? He asked one dawn, on bended knee in the shallows, Ring simple platinum. Engraved sanctuary. Yes? I whispered, pulling him up, waves lapping our promises. Romance's romance, humanistic in its humility. Return to DC was armored. Joint presser announcing engagement, framing it as love's lobby, turning scandal to symbol. Polls ticked up, youth rallied, the Hill's cynics begrudging nods. But climax crested midterms eve. A final leak, not Reyes, but a ghost. Jordan, escaped protection, Voss's mole to the end. Armed with a manifesto, he stormed Logan's town hall in Alexandria, gun drawn, ranting Hale's empire of lies. Chaos. Screams, Secret Service swarming, me shielding a teen activist as shots cracked. Jordan down, winged, Logan tackling him in a blur of heroism. In the aftermath, hospital vigil. Logan stitched, Jordan cuffed to bed, confessing tearfully, "They said you'd destroy us all." The betrayal's apex. Not one man, but a system's rot, loyalty bought and sold. Logan, bandaged but unbroken, pulled me close in the ER glow. "See? We're the story now, flawed, fighting, in love." Midterms dawned. Logan held his seat by 3%. The bill funded. Youth shelters breaking ground from coast to coast. We honeymooned quiet. Asheville cabins, hikes through Blue Ridges. No handlers, just us. Months post-midterms, the brownstone felt less fortress, more hearth. Bookshelves groaning with our mingled lives. My dog-eared Kerouac beside his leather-bound Federalist Papers. A framed bill-signing photo where our hands touched mid-pen stroke. Logan balanced Senate days with evenings of takeout and tangos. Lessons in the living room to loosen the lobbyist in me. Laughter returned. Easy as breathing. Our engagement ring catching light like a beacon. But humanism's heartbeat in the margins. Visits to Lucas's grave in Charleston. Wildflowers laid with Evelyn's hymns. Stories shared to honor, not haunt. I took a fellowship at American University, teaching rhetoric to wide-eyed undergrads, channeling our saga into lessons on voice over veto. Logan guest lectured once, our eyes locking over PowerPoints, the class none the wiser to the private thunder. Conflict lingered subtle. A donor dinner where a silver-haired exec leered, "Hale's kept man? Cute." Logan's rebuttal, arm around me, "Partner, and the brains behind the bill that capped your greed." Power's temptations whispered, but we countered with community. Pride floats where we marched hand in hand, not podiums, but picket lines for trans rights, sweat and solidarity our sacrament. Climax revisited in spring, a hearing on ethics reform, Logan's baby, ironclad after Voss. Testifying, I wove personal. Betrayal taught me. Transparency isn't tactic, it's tether. For families like mine, fractured by fear, it's the bridge back. Applause thundered, Logan's gaze from the dais pure pride, the chamber's skepticism cracking like eggshell. Yet the deepest drama unfolded privately. Evelyn's diagnosis, pancreatic, stage 4, delivered over cornbread in her kitchen. "Don't fuss," she waved, but frailty thinned her. Logan's visits lengthening. My hand in his as we drove coastal roads, sharing her stories. Lucas's pranks, Logan's rebellions. "You boys," she rasped one dusk, porch swing creaking. "Love like hurricanes, fierce, fleeting. Promise me. Weather it." We did, bedside vigils blending with Senate streams, her passing a quiet gale. Funeral under magnolias, eulogy Logan's, voice steady. Mama anchored us, taught forgiveness as fierce as faith. Grief bound us tighter. Tears in the rain-slicked cemetery turning to vows renewed. Till tempests part us. Wedding came summer solstice, Rehoboth Beach. Waves crashing chorus to our exchanged rings. Riley officiating in rainbow stole. Activists toasting with craft IPAs. No presidents, just presents. Toasts to Lucas's wild spirit. Dances under string lights where Logan's hand in mine felt like manifesto. To the man behind the power, I whispered, and the power in the man. Happily ever after? American myth, but ours was humanistic harvest. Logan term limited by choice, pivoting to foundation work, queer advocacy, no strings. I published Sanctuary Scripts, our story veiled in policy prose, bestseller in Beltway circles. We adopted a rescue mutt, named him Hale, ironies bark, and mornings found us on the balcony, coffee steaming, plotting not conquests, but quiet revolutions. Betrayal scars faded to stories, teaching resilience. Love as act, not artifact. In DC's churn, we carved constancy. A gay love letter to the Republic, dramatic in devotion, romantic in redemption, emotional in its every exhale. One evening, years on, under Jefferson's shadow, Logan quoted Whitman anew. "We two boys together clinging. I finished, lips to his, one the other forever. And in that cling power yielded to heart, the man behind it, finally free."